Jess, welcome to B2B Content Strategist. It's great to have you on the show.
Great to be here.
No, it's wonderful. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, thanks for being available. To get started, what would be fantastic would be if you could tell us a little bit about your role and what LASSO does as well. That'd be great.
Sure. So I am head of content at LASSO, which is a relatively new position for me. I just started in December. LASSO is a software platform specifically for the live events industry, event production industry. So, imagine you go to a concert and, there have been hundreds of people there setting things up before you even arrived, right? Putting the stage together, getting the lights right, the sound, the video, the ticket takers, the security, all of that, all of those folks were there kind of before you to make sure the experience is amazing. And in the months leading up to that, there was a whole team of people, scheduling all of those people and making sure all of the gear was there and making sure that the creative experience of the concert or the conference or really, any kind of live event that you go to is amazing. So our software is built really for that industry and for those people to, schedule the crew, to project manage, to pay people, to, record their time, all of those things. And so it really is kind of like an all-in-one kind of place for event production companies to be able to go and really do the work that they do day in and day out.
Wow, sounds fantastic. Super useful. Yeah, that's amazing. So how long has LASSO been around for?
LASSO has been around for nearly 10 years now,
right?
As a company, but really, I think things in terms of the software just got off the ground in the last. Don't quote me on this because I'm new. In the last 3 to 5 years. So really just picking up steam in terms of, growing and scaling and building teams and things like that. But the idea and the kind of people behind it have been around for a while.
Yeah, I guess things must be, have really picked up in the event space, of course, after the pandemic. Is like all these live events are starting to come back. Well, not just starting to come back, they're back now with full force. Yes. I always think whenever I go to anything, a corporate event or a music event, the sheer project management involved in bringing anything like that together. So it's really, really interesting to hear what you guys do in terms of your team. So what does that look like in terms of the roles and the structure?
Yeah, so we have a small but mighty team of 5 marketers. We have my manager is Drew Brucker, and he is VP of Growth. And then myself, and we have a marketing manager who both report to him. Her name's Kristen Trainer. She is an incredible, I actually think of her as our marketing ops lead. She is an incredible HubSpot genius. She builds all of our dashboards, all of our, reporting and forms and anything that you could think of that needs to run through HubSpot. She handles that. But she's also just an incredible marketer as well. Just has a fantastic brain for marketing problem solving. And then beneath me, I have 2 incredible women, Rachel and Dalian, who are both content marketing managers. So they are the individual contributors, doing all of the, kind of strategy and building and creation of our blog posts and our podcast and our social media. We have a couple of different audiences. We do a lot for, the founders and CEOs and kind of heads of these event companies. But we also have a product where those companies can go and source crew. So if you are doing an event in Las Vegas and maybe you don't know, you only know a couple of lighting technicians out there, but you need 4 or 5, you could come to LASSO and we have a talent pool as well. So we do a lot of communication to crew as well. to get more people in that talent pool. So, we're building all kinds of things for a couple of different audiences. And so, with five people seems like a lot to me because I have been a team of one for some time, but five people doing all of those things, we're all really pulling our weight. But it's an incredible team. We're all very aligned on, kind of our goals and what we need to do together, and how we can kind of come together in our individual ownership of projects to get those goals accomplished.
Really, really interesting. In terms of your kind of overarching content strategy, I'd love to know what those priorities are. I loved looking on the website and seeing about the podcast, Coral in the Chaos. I always love it when any B2B businesses have got what looks like a really cool podcast. You've got a really active blog, dead active on social media, LinkedIn. So what does that content strategy look like, especially that, as you said, with the different ideal clients as well?
Yeah. So when I came in December, my big kind of mission in the first kind of 30, 60 days, which I'm still really right at the tail end of the 60-day mark here, was to get a strategy, kind of see what's working, see what's not, what are our goals for the coming year, and how can we really streamline and focus, right? With five people, we need to all be rowing in the same direction to hit those goals. So my first kind of order of business was let's see what's working, and let's really do some digging into the data and understand where do we need to go from here. And so what I've kind of mapped out is we really, really want to go after, we want to streamline and focus, right? We're culling down, I think, some of the things that we were doing before that maybe aren't going to help us get to the goal as quickly. So we are focused on one audience. We are very much focused on one primary organic channel with a kind of eye on repurposing a lot of content for a second channel. And we are very focused on one message with many kind of themes and angles. So I think just narrowing things down to one audience with one message and one channel helps us, again, just really focus on the things we need to get done. And it really just streamlines the processes of things, right? If we always are talking to the same audience and we are always making sure that it is being distributed in one channel, and we always know the story we're trying to hit all the time, but we're just trying to hit it from different angles and viewpoints, it makes things run a lot smoother, and the power behind each of those is a bit stronger as well. And I think what happens is, when you do that, now we are in this position to really be known for that narrative, right? When people think of us, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, we will have done the work to back that strategy up, where people are like, oh yeah, LASSO, they're the one platform for, the industry, basically. A lot I always look at Toast. If you've ever heard of Toast as a really good example of doing this, they did this for the restaurant industry, right? And now they are the operating system for modern restaurants. So that's kind of the route we're trying to take, is to become that advocate and that kind of known thought leader for the events industry.
Yeah, 100%. Sounds like a really solid strategy. I noticed a recent post that you did on LinkedIn, or it might have been a comment, but anyway, on LinkedIn. And you said the repurposing multiplier is a metric I'm holding myself and team accountable to. Yeah. That's music to my ears, because we repurpose content. That's what we do. I think you were responding to a metadata, like the demand event, where I can't remember who it was, but there was a discussion about a webinar where only so many people turn up live. But then, if you're going to repurpose that, then that 30-person live audience becomes 10,000 people through the power of repurposing. And so it was great to see, you were saying, right, this repurposing multiplier is a metric that we want to kind of be accountable to and start to do more. You already mentioned repurposing just now when you were talking about what you do, but I'd love to just dig into that a little bit further in terms of what does your repurposing look like, or plans to repurpose look like?
Yeah. So I love that you said that. And that was like an amazing summary of that post, almost verbatim. That's awesome. Um, yeah. So I think for us, repurposing is absolutely a way, one, just to make a small brand look big.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest drivers of that, of like, I always love when people are like, "Oh wow, like you have a decently small team. I thought you were a lot bigger," right? That's such a huge compliment because it means we're repurposing content very well. So that's one big thing, is like we want to look very big and credible, and like we're out here doing all the things, right? That's always really exciting. Two, I think it is the best way to just hit your message over and over and over. And I think a lot of times we as marketers get kind of sick of our own message before people really understand what your brand stands for. And so I like to tell people, like, don't be afraid to repurpose and say the same things different ways over and over and over, because that's the only way people will really know kind of what you are and what you do and what your point of view is. And three, it makes things a lot easier. Repurposing is so much easier than just always creating new content all the time. And so to really like prevent burnout, to inspire some creativity, like there's nothing more exciting to me than when I'm like, okay, I have this great blog post, but I also think it could be an awesome downloadable PDF. And I know in my brain how I want that to come to life, right? Like that is really fun to me. And so I'm trying to kind of instill that in our team, that like, once you write a blog post, it doesn't have to be done. Or like, if you have an idea for, I have this idea for like this download checklist, right? Well, like, great, let's do that and beef it up and turn it into a blog post. And then let's use that as fodder for the podcast, right? Repurposing doesn't always have to be just like cutting something down or beefing it up. It can also be reformatting, like take that information and use it in a totally different way. So that's really our strategy, is like we come up with a story. We are going to try and use it as many ways as possible, different formats, different channels. But I think the other thing that's really important to know is like, sometimes repurposing really is just like copy and paste and put it in a different spot, right? We do that a lot with, hey, we have this social posted really, really well. I am literally going to pick this up and drop it into our next email newsletter, because obviously there's something there that's resonating, and you don't have to do much more than that. So sometimes it's as simple as that. And sometimes it's like reimagining the content in a different format, which, is a little heavier lift, but there's just so many ways to do it. And I think we're going to see a lot more companies, I think, catch on to that this year. We have smaller budgets. We're trying to do more with less, or the same with less. And you can only do that if you're repurposing strategically.
Yeah, it's the opposite of just being on that hamster wheel and just creating lots of content with no repurposing. It's not it's not going to be a nice situation to be in. I completely agree with you as well that, on the one hand, content repurposing is, reimagining new formats, new locations, different platforms, but there's a time and place for an almost cut and paste if it's still respectful of that new platform in a format and a tone and style that the people on that other platform would with and appreciate. Then why not? Sometimes all you're doing is testing it in one place to then use it somewhere else. So I completely agree. In terms of kind of streamlining and optimizing, obviously you've talked already about having a really streamlined content strategy, the one message, one platform, etc. Is there anything else, I guess, from a day-to-day operational perspective of how you streamline and optimize the processes that are quite recurring within the team, I suppose?
Yeah, this is a great question. So we're doing a little bit of this in a couple different ways right now. One thing we are working on right now that feels like a kind of a bigger version of this is we're trying to get a better case study process down. So working really closely with the customer success team to understand who's even like, who's a good fit for this, who has a good story, who's in great standing with us, loves us, right? And would go on record to say that.
Yeah.
And then from there, taking that from, okay, you know, what's the background of this team? What have they been working on? How are they using us? And then the interview, and then distilling that down. And, you know, and then also like, I don't really want to have just a typical case study on the website. I think people are so tired of the same old, you know, problem, enter the product, solution, right? Like, let's find a different way. So I think that's absolutely part of it. So we're working on that right now. Just trying to figure out like, what's a good motion that's going to help us, you know, if we can build that motion and get a couple case studies done this quarter, that process should then help us, like, we can get double that number next quarter, right? So definitely building that. Another process we're trying to think about right now is like, all of these AI tools are coming out. How can we use those to scale and at the same time still build quality content? So really thinking hard about, you know, bringing AI into our process and our workflow, but not just kind of letting it do everything for us. How do we inject some humanity into these pieces? How do we inject our point of view, right? Because AI just lacks so much of that right now. It's great for ideation. It's probably great for like, oh yeah, these are kind of the sections that we should write around, but this isn't the final piece. So how do we kind of build that in, but understand the limits of AI so that we can still create content we're really happy to put our names on? So I think those are really like the two spots we're trying to figure out process wise right now, how we can really streamline those things and keep moving forward. And then the other thing is just like, I always like to reserve some time and space for testing stuff out. So, you know, I hear on a customer call, someone describe us a way we've never heard before. Well, I kind of want to go test that in the H1 on the homepage, you know, see if other people see us like that and what happens to, you know, the rate of people going to the book a demo page because I've seen that work quite a bit. So I just love like some testing, like making room for like testing, experimentation, and failure, right? Because some of that stuff is going to fail and you have to be okay with that. That's why it's a test. But then also just streamlining things that like, you know, are working and you just need to do more of it.
Yeah, completely agree. It's funny you mentioned AI. I was actually going to be the next question, but you beat me to it. Have you guys played around with ChatGPT? Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't even managed to get on it. Every time I think I'm going to go and check it out, it has no capacity to let any more users on. So like, I have not even tried it yet, but everyone's talking about it at the moment.
We have, absolutely. Yeah. What we have found is obviously it's only as good as the input.
Yeah.
So you can get very specific about, you know, your angle. Even I've gotten really great success of like, you know, write me an article about this topic using the following as the H2s, right? And then putting in the pillars of things I want to talk about. I've seen really good success with that. We're really keen on documenting our tone and voice, because I think that is just going to help us refine what comes out of AI. And we can use that as the prompt, right? So write me an article titled this with these as the H2s in a voice that is X, Y, and Z. So I think just the tighter and the more kind of refined you can get that input, the better the output will be. And so we're still playing around with that. I think that is, as these tools continue to evolve and get better, they will allow for, you know, kind of guardrails within the prompts that will just continue to, you know, boost the quality of the output.
Yeah, they will, won't they? It's like the way that you've been using it sounds exactly right, but you're right, they'll start adding those guardrails as well. So, yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? It's got its limitations, but we need to embrace it. In terms of like marketing departments, I know often a key thing is what do you keep in house and what do you get expertise, what do you outsource? In your experience, I guess at LASSO, and I know that, you know, you're fairly new to the company, so also just building on from, say, previous positions, what have you always found to be something good to perhaps look for external expertise and outsourcing and other things that you've really like, oh, we'll cling on to this for in-house always?
Yeah. An SEO expert, I think,
Yeah.
is so important to have and to bring someone in from the outside. One, because I think I don't know if I could bring someone on if they would have a full-time role in SEO, especially like at this point in LASSO's kind of journey. Maybe moving forward as we grow. But at this point, it's really something that I could see a vendor for. It is something that we had a vendor for at Marpipe, a fantastic agency called Ercule, Ercule. And they're amazing. I think they were really helpful in allowing me to like know what we needed to go after, but then, okay, realistically, here's what you can actually rank for, compete for. And this all fits into your strategy, right? So it wasn't just like keywords for keyword's sake. It was, what do you want to be known for? What is relevant? What don't you want to be known for? We will not try to rank for those things, right? Because there is some of that, like, that might bring traffic in, but if it's not traffic that you want, like, don't focus on it. So that's a big one for me. We also have, I think it's great to, if you can, outsource someone to oversee kind of campaigns and ad spend. Again, at this point, I think in like the stage LASSO's at, that feels right. As we grow, it might be something we want to bring in house, but right now, that feels really good to have someone outside just kind of helping us with that campaign management role.
Yeah, makes sense. It's funny, when I've been asking, similar question on the first season of the podcast, the completely sort of like resounding answer to the outsource question. I think nearly everyone said SEO, like,
Really?
yeah, like nearly everybody pretty much. It was a key theme of, something that people favor and are comfortable with, like the outside expertise. And actually, when I was, as you were answering, I was thinking, well, we're only working with one external supplier at the moment ourselves, and that's an SEO agency.
Isn't
So
that funny?
there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, exactly. In terms of content marketing initiatives, what is a really memorable content marketing initiative that you've run? Like something that was like really successful, or in whatever metric you were measuring in at the time, but like a standout content marketing initiative that just you're really proud of.
One thing that I worked on at Marpipe that was, it started as a test and it ended up being really, really successful. And so I think that's why I'm proud of it, because we had no
Yeah.
expectations for it. And I think that's what's exciting about it. So the funny way was that it started out as I had approval from 5 customers. So let me back up a little bit. Marpipe is a platform for testing ad creative.
Yeah.
And I had approval from 5 of our customers to show their kind of before and after, like ad creative, right? In each of these scenarios, there was only one difference between the ads, and it always resulted in some insanely crazy performance boost that they had found using Marpipe. And I had gotten approval to use them in like a one pager. But because I had approval, and approval is so hard to come by from customers, I was like, I have to figure out a way to use these again. And so something came to me that was like, well, what if I put these in front of other marketers and said, can you pick the winner? Like, can you predict which one was the winner? And so I built this quiz in like a type form thing, and just dropped it on Twitter as like, let's see what happens, right? Kind of a challenge to, marketers have egos. Like, we all think we know what good creative is. And so just kind of threw it out there, and it took off. In 48 hours, we had over 2,000 people take the quiz, which the funny thing about it was we hadn't actually like paid for that level of like respondents. And so we had like this overage that we paid for because it did really well. And so within that survey, I also asked, for their job title. And I also asked for their years of experience. And so from that animation, I was able to create like a really scrappy research report. So it was kind of this like thing that turned into like a quiz that then became a research report that I was able to, use in a blog post. And then I created little mini quizzes in social where I would just put like one set of ads up and be like, heart for the one on the left and a thumbs up for the one on the right. And we got so much mileage out of it. And I think that was really exciting. And I think it helped people see, like, understand what MarPipe does really easily at a glance, and see the results of it, right? Like, this particular ad, because of this one small change, had a 350% increase in add to cart rate. Like things like that, if you put in a one pager and show somebody, it's kind of like, oh, cool. But if you make it interactive, it's really sticks with you. So that's something I'm really, really proud of. That was a lot of fun to work on. And again, just like a surprise that it was so successful and took so many shapes and forms.
Yeah, you didn't know where that was going to go. That's really cool. Yeah. That's really awesome. Let's talk about the opposite. So rather than successes, do you have any funny stories or cautionary content marketing tales of anything that didn't go quite to plan?
Okay, so we ran that quiz. We were like, this is amazing. We need to figure out how to make this a weekly thing. Like it took off. It was huge. So we took about a month, got approval from 5 other customers to, show their ads in a second round of the quiz. And we put it out. And I think we got, it was less than 100, maybe it was less than 200. Right. So it's like, there's the proof where you need to test. I'm really glad we decided to run it a second time before we turned it into some sort of kind of scaled program, because, even despite people saying, this is the new Wordle for me, I would do this every day if you had one. Like, the reality is they didn't. And so we would have put all this time and effort after one kind of, lightning strike, we would have missed. And so it was sad that happened, but a very good lesson that, like, okay, that was a one-time deal, or maybe we just need more time between them before we do it again.
Yeah. People often do that, don't they? Where they, like you said, there's a bit of a lightning strike and then put all their eggs in one basket. This is now the only way we're ever going to do marketing. Yeah. And then like, probably should have done it a little bit more first. So no, that's a really good story. I've got 3 sort of quick fire questions to run through with you. But before that, I wanted to just sort of switch gears a little bit and ask you about your podcast. So I noticed that you've launched That's Marketing Baby. I'd love to know about that. How's it going? Why did you decide to launch it? It'd be just cool to find out a bit more. It looks awesome.
For sure. Oh, thank you so much for bringing this up. So Susan Winograd is my incredible co-host. She and I both were at MarPipe, and we were the marketing team at MarPipe, just the 2 of us. So she ran everything paid and I did everything content and organic. And we were just a fabulous team. Like, she and I worked really well together. Our brains, we were like 2 puzzle pieces, right? That kind of fit in the kind of blind spots of the other person's. And we built some incredible things together, and we did the podcast together at MarPipe. And when we both left, I think that was the thing we missed the most, was like just getting in to sit and talk to each other every week. And we were like, we got to do this again. Like, we got to figure out a way.
Yeah.
And something that I had noticed kind of in conjunction with this happening was, there's so many podcasts out there right now where it's 2 men that host, or there's a male host and he brings on a majority of male guests. And it's not that I don't learn from those. I have learned so much from those podcasts, but I was like, there is a void here of like female-led podcasts. So kudos to you sincerely, because there is a gap to fill. And I'm glad that you are helping to fill it. And so Susan and I were like, you know what, like, let's do this. Let's take the lead here. It'll be us, a podcast about marketing by women for all. And we're just going to talk about what we want to talk about. The things that we did at Marpipe that were really interesting and cool, things that we just have a passion for, and things that people are like afraid to ask about, right? I think there's so many things where you jump into a new role or you're new to marketing and you're like, oh, there's so many like acronyms and like, what's an MQL? Like, what's an SDR? How do I know if my, newsletter is doing well? Like, what metrics do I like? There's just so many questions that are intimidating to ask the answer to. And so it's like, let's clear the air. Let's talk about those things. So that's really what That's Marketing Baby is all about. And it's fun. We swear. There's some sarcasm. It's like two friends just geeking out about marketing stuff. Which is great.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely awesome. I love everything about that. How many episodes are you into it now?
Episode 4 comes out on Monday. So we're
awesome.
So we're really new, but it's been a load of fun, and they're short. I mean, we're trying to keep them, 20 to 30-ish minutes, just easy to listen to, and hope that people can pick up something actionable every time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's a perfect sweet spot actually for podcast duration. So yeah, congratulations. I'm gonna hit that subscribe button and get listening to it. Sounds awesome. And obviously I'll put the links to that for everybody listening to go check your show out as well. So that's really cool. Some final quick fire questions. What's one takeaway tip that you would give to another content marketer to just try and optimize the output of their content?
I think with this new kind of advent and adoption of AI tools, the way we're seeing, everything is going to start to sound very kind of monotone, robotic. I think it will be an incredible superpower of people who understand how to inject humanity into their content. And by that, I mean interjecting some personality, making it sound like it came from a human, making sure you always have an author's name and face on a blog post, or a picture of someone and a signature in an email, that it didn't just come from, the LASSO team. It's coming from Drew at LASSO, right? And I think the more you do that, the more trust you build. It's funny, Susan and I had this conversation on our podcast the other day that was like, what do you think of when you think of IBM? Like, I don't think of a person at all. I think of their logo and the color blue, right? But think of the number of experts they have in their company that they could be leveraging. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but I'm not aware of it. And so the more you can do that, the more you can leverage your people, their faces, use them in video. I think it's just going to give the brands that do that an edge. Because we're moving into this space where like everything's going to start sounding the same because it's all been created by AI, which is, just an amalgam of everything that's already out there. So whatever you can do to really like humanize and differentiate will absolutely optimize.
It will win the day. What's a typically overlooked or undervalued tool that you'd recommend to content marketers, if there are any that you're aware of?
Boy, these are really good, Amy. I don't think we talk to customers enough. I don't think we talk to customers enough, and I think sometimes when we talk to customers, we check the box that we talk to a customer, and then we do nothing more with it. But I think there's something to be said for really, really picking up on the cues that you hear from them, on the way they talk about your product. I mean, you can bring those into verbatim, pick those things up and put them in your content and see what happens. I yesterday heard one of our customers say the words attendee experience like 3 times. And I was like, okay, we need to build something on that. Like, we need a piece of content, the guide to attendee experience, something like, let's start small. Let's do a blog post and then blow it up, right? But let's get something out there because that feels really important. So just really listening and like pulling out key
Yeah.
themes and then going and doing something with them. So that feels overlooked for me. And maybe that seems obvious because it's like, oh, go talk to your customers. But I don't know if we do it enough, and I don't know if we do it well.
Yeah. Really listen and then really do something about it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. So this is a good one for you because you're new at the company. So you're given any opportunity to create any content. So you've got no bounds within the budget or the resources. So you can create anything. Billboard in Times Square, primetime TV advertisement slot. The sky's the limit. What's that campaign? I'll tell you what you're gonna do.
Okay. This is so great. So my background, I was a creative director and copywriter in the agency world for like 15 years. And one of my favorite things to do was write video scripts, or, commercial scripts. Love that. And so, if I had just all the money in the world, incredible, production team at my fingers, I would write an amazing like explainer video for LASSO, like
Yeah.
blow the roof off of it, make it one of those ones that's like so fun to watch that you're sharing it, whether or not you actually would use the software or not. Right. So I think that's what I would do. I love writing scripts and then like getting on set and watching the director work their magic and watching the talent kind of bring it to life. I love seeing like when you write a video script, there's like an ecosystem of like people and management and like logistics that all come together to like make it happen. And I love that. So that's
what sort of A-list Hollywood style talent would you have in the ad? So Morgan Freeman doing the voice, maybe.
that would be amazing. I think it would have to be like LASSO. Like I think it would have to be like a cowboy type, like a
Yeah.
boy. Sam Elliott. Like I feel like Sam Elliott would be a good one. Man, I think like Yellowstone is like everyone's favorite show. I think we'd have to pull some talent from
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
Sounds
we're
great.
talking big budget production.
This is like no limits. Brilliant. So lastly, right, so B2B content strategists, I love to speak to true leaders in the B2B marketing world like yourself. What one person do you think I should be inviting next? So who stands out to you as a real B2B marketing leader?
A real B2B marketing leader. You know what? So my boss, Drew Brucker, is incredible. He has just an amazing knack for leading people, I think, in a really, really empathetic way. And two, just a brain for detail when it comes to marketing. Like, what aren't we thinking about yet? Like, obviously we've got the big picture covered of things, but like, what aren't we thinking about? What's another lever we could pull? I think he is amazing at that. So he would be, I'm a little biased, but he would absolutely be who I would bring on next.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. So apart from going ahead and subscribing to your podcast, where else would you like people to connect with you? LinkedIn, I presume. Yeah.
LinkedIn, absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty active there. I'm usually posting every weekday. So yeah, LinkedIn.
Cool.
There are quite a few Jess cooks, but I'm the only one at LASSO. So you can find me that way.
Yeah, brilliant. They'll find you on LinkedIn. I'll obviously put links to everything in the show notes for this as well. So Jess, thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful conversation. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Amy. This was so much fun.